Alright everyone, whenever you get a bill or a plan or a trade deal or whatever and it has a family-friendly sounding name, be assured it is malevolent. This is always the case. Basically, you take a pile of shit and you put it in a box and you wrap up the box with nice foil wrapping and a cute little pink bow and stuff like that to make it palatable. Or putting lipstick on a pig would be a good metaphor for it. That's the case with the UN Global Compact for Migration. It's sort of like the term Patriot Act. Or anti-fascist action, which is really in support of brutality and totalitarianism. It's basically the same fucking shit. What this would do, and we need to oppose this, what we need to do is oppose it specifically because it's not really about protecting migrants. It's about protecting corporate interests, which is, surprise, surprise, what the UN actually wants. It's about the free flow of people across national borders, irrespective of their nation's actual internal laws, to create a globalistic world in which multinational corporations can do anything they want. It is I hate to say it, but it's literally a form of imperialism. It's a takeover by a sort of oligarchic corporate movement that is managed through the military-industrial complex of the Western world to gain so much power over human communication, over military prowess, over academic situations in some cases, over commerce and trade, over travel and movement. It's gained so much dominance within enough governments that it basically is worldwide at this point. They've basically taken over the world. It's fragile. It's splintering at the moment because of the upsurge of populism in maybe the more enlightened corners of the world. Whether it be left or right populism makes no difference. And so they're pushing things like this. They want to crack down. They want to have more power. That's why Silicon Valley's trying to censor everybody. Because they're working for their multinational masters, basically speaking. What's happening is that this compact would say, for instance, a migrant group, not refugees. We're not talking about people who've been internally displaced. We're talking about economic migrants. Someone who's just out of work in their home country. Some unemployed American wanders up to Canada to get a job. Canada can't do anything. They'll give him welfare and job training, health care, and all of these other socialist programs that aren't even, by the way, provided by every nation. I wonder what would possibly happen if the U.S. signed on to this compact. What this would do is transform every nation into a de facto tin horn socialist regime and introduce full-on globalism within the world. There would no longer be nation states per se. Now, there are several people that are standing against it. Donald Trump refuses to sign it. Good on him, by the way. I would immediately oppose him and clamor for him to be kicked out of office if he did. It'd be treason. And then Viktor Orban, who's the sane man of Europe, I suppose, even though they call him, the Hungarian Hitler, which is crazy, but that's the way it is. There are 4 other nations that are considering the possibility of not signing. Australia is actually one of them. They've begun coming to their senses, although in the end I expect they'll still sign it, unfortunately. The others are Poland, Italy, and there's one other country that was part of it. Can't remember. Yeah, there are other countries that are thinking of the possibility of not signing on because they realize it's going to be a problem. And trust me, a lot of people haven't even heard of this. Like, I didn't until the last few days know that this compact existed or was a thing or would be voted on in Marrakesh on December 10th. But until then, through the course of November, people in all of these countries need to rally against it. We need to do what we did with the TPP. Now, the problem is this. A lot of people are sheep and don't know what's going on anyway unless you basically tell them. Silicon Valley was willing to help defeat things like ACTA or SOPA or PIPA or other bills throughout time. They're not willing to help with this, though, because they definitely support it. This will lower their costs. It'll allow them to amalgamate more money and offshore more jobs. It'll allow them to make money hand over fist. Silicon Valley will be 10 times richer, but guess what? That wealth isn't going to trickle down. It's like I pointed out weeks ago, when I think it was The Atlantic said, oh, yeah, a world without borders would be like $10 trillion richer. And I pointed out, yeah, okay, it generates more revenue. Who's getting the revenue? Who's getting 9.9 trillion of that 10 trillion? Oh, it's the 1%ers and the political elites. Oh, so a bunch of corporatists. Well, that wealth isn't going anywhere other than into their own pockets. They're not spreading it around. They're keeping a hold of that shit. They're going to use it to build their next bunker using slave labor. That's basically what happens. You're not going to get wealthier. Your cost of living isn't going to go down. Your taxes aren't going to go down. No, you're not going to gain anything by it. Globalism helps the 1%, and not even the full 1%, really. The 1%, At this point, a lot of countries, 1% means you have fucking air conditioning. 1% means you don't have a dirt floor. You live on a paved road. The 1% of this world is like the 5% of the United States. And trust me, as someone who's working my way up into the upper middle class, no, I don't feel rich at all. I feel I'm better off. I'm capable of making ends meet, but I'm not George Soros, if you know what I'm saying. And that even goes for people at this point that have like millions of dollars. They got $1 million in the bank. Okay, I'm kind of rich because I'm a millionaire. Yawn. Now these days it's billionaire. Pretty soon it'll be trillionaire, because they keep inflating currency in order to amalgamate more and more of the world's productive capability in their own pockets. This is, by the way, what they're doing. They fiddle with the currency in order to continuously compound it under their own control, because they're literally fascists. Corporate control. So corporate partnered with the government, controlling it. In part, it's basically what Herbert Walker's daddy, Prescott Bush, wanted with the business plot. They wanted to overthrow the U.S. government and install a Mussolini-style regime because it would have made them richer. Well, I guess over time, they pretty much succeeded. People willfully give their private info to Silicon Valley and then they get depersoned anyway. It's wonderful. And Zuckerberg doesn't apparently care if he sells that data to foreign states, because they're all the same. They're run by the same cabal of people. The differences are only on paper. So I would say this. Thank goodness for Trump being in power here and Orban being in power there. The hope, I suppose, it would be wonderful if Bolsonaro wins, maybe he'll come out against it. You need more populism in the world. The whole world should be comprised of 100% populist regimes in which governments represent the people that are paying them with their taxes and providing funds. Having mercy for migrants is a very old idea. It predates globalism entirely. The idea of having mercy to people that have been internally transplanted, or they've been forced out of their country by a civil war. They've been forced out by famine or something. Hell, the pagans were doing this in antiquity. It has nothing to do with, well, if we don't administer it through the UN, it won't exist. Bullshit. There are plenty of people who have come to the United States, tens of millions apparently. They live here. They're not being harassed. Nobody in this political climate even wants to do anything about it. President after president has talked a big game about solving our border crisis. None of them have ever even done anything about it. Hell, even Trump's fans are getting antsy about build the wall, and I'm pointing out, of course, he can't without Congress appropriating the money. They're at least not going to do that till after the midterms, and then it depends on how the Republicans do. So keep your pants on. Don't get your knickers in a twist, so to speak. But no, the UN Global Compact for Migration must be vigorously opposed. People should take to the streets. Yeah, they should be waving banners saying no to getting rid of our country. By the way, it's funny, this compact is supported by Putin, it's supported by Kim Jong-un, it's supported by the Iranian regime and the Saudis. All these tin horns of theocrats and dictators and stuff. People who, Putin man bad. Okay, well, he likes the UN Compact for Migration, so it must be a Russian ploy. We must oppose it very vigorously. That's about all. Peace out.